In this video, we're going to be creating an animated tile set that consists of our waterfalls. The first thing I want to do is let's prepare our sprites. If we go into our environment and if we go into our waterfall, we have here our waterfall center, waterfall left, and waterfall right. Each individual piece of this is going to be a 256 by 256 sprite. So we want to make sure we slice these appropriately. So go ahead and select waterfall center, make sure sprite mode is multiple, pixels per unit is 256, open up the sprite editor, slice, make sure it's set to grid by cell size, and set it to 256 by 256. Go ahead and slice it, and you'll see here that we have individual cells. When you're ready, hit apply. Once that's grayed out, X out of this, and now we have our waterfall created. And you can see here, if you actually skim through it, you can see the animation. So we have 30 frames here. Go ahead and do the similar process for the waterfall left and waterfall right. You'll go ahead and take it, make a sprite mode multiple, pixels per unit is 256, open up your sprite editor, make sure it's set to grid by cell size, 256 by 256, slice it, hit apply, and X out. And here you go. That's your left side, and do the same thing for your right. 256, sprite mode is multiple, sprite editor, slice, grid by cell size, apply, and now we're good to go. Now we need to create the animated tile. Now, before we can add it to the palette, we want to make sure it's already animating. So we're not going to add all these individual sprites to the palette. We're actually just going to add an animated tile to the palette so that we're painting with an animated sprite. To do that, we now need to create the animated tile. So we're going to go ahead and open up your sprites folder, jump into your tile map, and go ahead and right click inside your tiles. Let's create a new tile, and we're going to save it with our other tiles. So go ahead and right click, create, and we're going to create what's called an animated tile. If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see here that we have new tiles listed, and one of those tiles is an animated tile. By selecting this, it's going to save out an animation asset for us. That's basically another tile asset. We're going to go into our tile, our sprites, our tile maps, our tiles, and we're going to create a new one called waterfall. And we want to save this in there. And this is going to be a new animated tile within waterfall. So let's call this one left waterfall. We're going to have to make 3 of these because we have 3 different slices of waterfall. So left waterfall. We'll save that. And you'll see here inside our tiles under waterfall, it has created a left waterfall. And now what we can do is we can basically add some sprites to it. So left waterfall here, you'll see here number of animated sprites. Go ahead and put 30, because 0 through 29 is our sprite sheet. And you'll see here that it will now animate through this using this tile. So to populate it, we're simply going to drop into our environment. We're going to open up our waterfall left. And now what we need to do is we need to add each individual sprite to that waterfall. Now this process is a little painful as there is no way to just drag this waterfall left and to have it automatically populate. We actually have to go individually from 0 all the way down to 29. So sprite 3, and you're just going to keep going all the way down until it's finished. Now one thing that we can do to shorten this, and the animation won't be as fluid, but you can actually just take individual sprite. There's 30 frames here, so you can actually take every 5 frames. So we'd have basically a 6-frame animation. So you could do 0, 4, 9, 14, 19, 24, and 29. But alternatively, if you want the smoothest transition, you're going to want to add all 30 of them. So I will be adding all 30 of them, and I will be speeding up the video as I do that. Once that is finished, what we want to do now is go ahead and create our center waterfall. So let's go ahead and right click our waterfall folder underneath our tiles, right click, create. We're going to create another animated tile, and we're going to call this center_waterfall. And we're going to save this in our sprites, our tile map, our tiles, under our waterfall. We save that. That's going to create a new animated tile. And the same process that we did before, 30 sprites. Go back to your waterfall sprites and waterfall center. And now we need to go ahead and add those. So have the tile selected. And we begin the same process. Okay, and last but not least, we're going to create another animated tile by right-clicking our waterfall sprites, create animated tile. We're going to save this with our other animated tiles. So we're going to go into our assets, sprites, tile map, tiles, waterfall, and we're going to create a right waterfall so we can connect them. From here, we'll save that. That's going to create a new tile for us. Let's drop down our right waterfall sprite sheet, select our right waterfall tile, change it to 30 frames, and we'll go ahead and just like the others, we will add 0 through 29. Okay, now that that's finished and we have all three of our waterfall sprites tiles created, we can now create a new palette that is going to host our animated tiles. So let's go to our tile palette, create a new palette, and let's call this waterfalls. We're going to go ahead and create, open up our sprites, tile map, and select your palettes folder to where you'd like to save that palette. Once it's created, you're going to take your new 3 tiles that you just created, your center waterfall, your left waterfall, and your right waterfall animated tiles, and you're going to drag them into the waterfall palette. You'll see here that it's going to create the waterfall palettes. We have our left, center, and right. Now, one thing we can do here is we can actually reposition this order so that we can get a better feel for what we want and a better definition of what left is versus right. And to do that, we simply go into edit mode, select the tile, and then we can use this translate tool to move it around. So this is the left side, I believe, and this is the right side. So make sure you select that one, translate tool, and there you go. We have our full waterfall. Make sure you leave edit mode and save your scene so that your palette settings get saved. Now that we have our waterfall palette, what we can do is simply take our paintbrush. We can go into an active tile map. So let's go ahead and say the ground tile map layer or the foreground tile map layer. And we can take our tile map here and we can literally just paint waterfalls. And if we wanted to, I'm going to hit Control Z. I'm going to grab all 3 of these and we're going to paint a waterfall right along here. So we'll go ahead and paint one right along here. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I should not have gone sideways. We have transparent ends. So I'm going to take my waterfall and I'm going to just bring it down. And if I wanted to make the waterfall longer, what I would have to do is I grab the left side and we'll bring it over here. And then we have the center fill. So I can use the center to make it as long as I want. And then I grab the right tile and I do that. From there, I can grab bring it all the way down, the center, bring it all the way down, and then on the right side. And you'll see now that as soon as I hit play, these tiles are automatically going to animate 1 frame per second. Now, they did disappear, and I'm not 100% sure why they would have. So let's go ahead and stop playing. And it looks like they were actually removed. So let me re-add them back and make sure there's not any problems. Make sure you're on the foreground tile layer. Okay, so, okay, it looks like they are there, but they're behind these sprites. So one thing that we need to do here is just bring them forward. So if we go ahead and get out of our focus here, and let's bring these guys a little forward. There we go. Now you can see our waterfalls by setting this forward on a 3. So here are our waterfalls, and as soon as we hit play, you'll see here that they should automatically be animating, and they are, and they're moving at 1 frame per second. Now, obviously that's very slow. We have 30 frames. So let's go ahead and increase the speed of which these guys are actually flowing. One thing that we can do is if you select the individual tiles, the tile assets, you'll see here at the very bottom, we have a minimum speed and a maximum speed. What you want to do is just set this to say 30 for the minimum speed on each one. And that's going to take those tiles and animate them at 30 frames per second. When we run our game now, you'll see here that we have a beautiful flowing waterfall. So in the next video, we are going to strategically place these waterfalls to get a very aesthetically pleasing look. I'll see you guys then.